What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Save Point Podcast, episode 27. I'm one of your hosts, Alex, and I'm joined, as always, by Sway. And oh my God, we have quite a week ahead of us. Primarily in this episode, and we'll take the chat and all that stuff, but we want to talk about Summer Game Fest, go through some, what we want, what we would predict, things like that. But of course, Street Fighter just coming out, Diablo came out technically today, but a lot of people have had it. Do you see the stat? A lot of people got it on Friday. A lot of people
Yes,
got it on
a lot of
Friday.
people.
Amnesia comes out today. Lots of stuff. So this could be, I'd say, from Street Fighter to next Monday, could be the busiest stretch of the entire year. I'd like to throw that out there, just because you get 3 games, and then 4 shows: Capcom, Ubisoft, Xbox, Summer Game Fest. That's nuts. Your stream started mid-sentence again. I don't know why it does that. I try to let it wait and then I start talking, but sometimes it does that. Oh well. So Sway, how you been? What you been up to? You excited for the week ahead?
I am very excited for the week ahead. I am excited for Street Fighter to get here finally at my doorstep. Any hour
I need
now.
it.
But yeah, I've been doing pretty good. A little bit of a busy week last week, but hopefully I can get to some Street Fighter today. How about you, Alex?
Street Fighter. I played it pretty consistent. I one night I finished Yakuza 3 because I only had 2 hours left. So I did stop Street Fighter for that. But I did play probably a good 7-8 hours of Street Fighter. I did 7 or 8 of the 18 of the arcade story mode. I did 7 or 8 of them, which was recommended to me and was a good idea because you do, I think, get better at them when you play. I only did normal, but you end up fighting bots level 6, which I think I could handle a bot level 6, which is surprising because I feel like that's kind of, or it only goes up to 8. So I think that's kind of
That's that
high.
practice kicking in. That's that repetition.
Yeah. And then Diablo, played that last. I tweeted. I meant it. I tweeted. It's insane how fast you. I started at 6 o'clock, and then I put my daughter to bed at 9, or I tell her to get ready for bed at 9. Those 3 hours went by like that. Like when you play Diablo 4, it just goes. So that was fun. And then the week ahead, Summer Game Fest should be sweet. The Xbox show. I think we did this before, Sway, but now, after the PlayStation showcase really wasn't good. I think we both kind of agree on that. How would you rank? So you got Summer Game Fest, Xbox, Ubisoft, and Capcom. How would you
Yep.
rank those four? Because I think Xbox is number one, but Summer Game Fest could be big too.
I would still put Xbox as number one. I believe that they're holding a lot of cards to the vest.
Yeah.
It's been so long since they've announced anything of substantial impact, so I feel like they're going to be the winners of the summer. Going to go a different route here with the second one because Capcom threw a wrench here. I think Capcom is going second. The reason now I'm thinking to myself, because Exo Primal is probably going to ruin the great streak that they're on right now. I do, but I will. What I will say is that, and I'm thinking you released Street Fighter, you released RE. Obviously, you got more RE coming probably, but I'm thinking what else could you have here, right?
Yeah.
And I think about it, and I'm like, this could be wishful thinking. Devil May Cry. I don't know. But they truly have been, from a quality and release standpoint,
They're probably the best.
The best out there right now. And I'm going to cash in a little bit of that goodwill and put them at second here, and put Summer Games Fest at third. And Ubisoft, I think Ubisoft can surprise us. I think honestly, Ubisoft has the potential to be the second best, even because you got the Star Wars, you got the Assassin's Creed. They have potential to surprise us big time, but it's all in how the quality and the execution is going to go for them. But they're a dark horse for sure. But that would be my order: is Xbox, Capcom, Summer Games Fest, Ubisoft.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think I would swap Capcom. It's tough. I think I'd put Summer Game Fest higher, just because that's also like an unknown. Like it could really, it
Yep.
could, Summer Game Fest could either be, I think, number 2, because I think Xbox is going to be number 1, or number 4. I think Summer
Mhm.
Game Fest could be the absolute worst or the second best, or like right up there with the best. That's how Jeff Keighley rolls. He's either like really good or it's just really bad. Or sometimes that's in the same show. In fact, Summer Game Fest historically has been like that. Normally he has like a
Yep.
streak of like 30 minutes that are amazing. And I what was it? See, I co-streamed it last year. I may have done it the year before. I remember one of the years he was on a roll. I think he opened on a roll, and then like the last hour and a half was abysmal. Maybe I didn't stream that. Maybe that was like 2 or 3 years ago. But he has had some weird like ups and
Yes.
Gamescom is way more consistent. Game Awards way more consistent. Summer Game Fest has never been. I think the first year he did it was awful. So that definitely has some up and downs. But Capcom, like Dragon's Dogma, I think would be there. Can they do Pragmata? That's the big one for me, because that's like their big. I had done a video on that game and I looked it up and did some research, and like they want that game to be like a Resident Evil. Like they want it to be
Yep.
a cornerstone of their company, like multiple games, stuff like that. So that game is nobody knows what it is. We saw it once at the Sony one, and we haven't seen it. It was supposed to release this year, and that's never going to happen. But like it to them, it means a lot. I don't think people really know that kind of across the board. So that may be like their big closing, I think, at their show is Pragmata.
For
So
sure.
so yeah. And then Ubisoft, yeah, to me it's gonna come out Star Wars, because like Assassin's
Yep.
Creed, I think is gonna look good. I think it'll be fine. Avatar is probably like 50-50, right? Like how they show that. But it really if Star Wars is good, then that boosts them up. So I would say that. Ubisoft is really a giant coin flip. Yeah, so 100%.
Yeah.
And they could show like Beyond Good and Evil 2 and like shock us, just because I don't know. Do you think? I mean, I think Beyond Good and Evil 2 is real. I think it's real, but it's also just one of those games where I think people expect it to just never be shown again. Like we'll never see it.
Exactly. It's real. Maybe that there's just some turmoil in development or maybe some setbacks, but each company is different. I can speaking for myself, I didn't want to from my company, I didn't want to reveal anything until everything was 100% set in place. I just wanted to come out and have this fluid transition, and so I can understand why people might not want to put a product out until they got everything that they want to have, and I can see why.
Yeah. What do we got? Jeff has secured literally every developer in the industry, so even if it's a ton of fluff, it'll have a lot of reveals. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think Summer Game Fest tends to be like, I don't know. I think there's just a pattern in his Summer Game Fest. I think there are some really big reveals. I think was Elden Ring revealed at Summer Game Fest like the first year. I think it was definitely a closer at one of his either Summer Game Fest or Gamescom. I know he's done Dragon Age before at Summer Game Fest. He did Crash 4. That was that came out in 2020, so that was like the COVID year. So he did that. So he's had big stuff, and historically, the Game Awards stuff, Wonder Woman and Mass Effect. I mean, yeah, he's got people. So.
I don't think that the studios yet, he gets a lot of trailers and reveals and partnerships with the studios, but I don't think that the reason why you see that up and down, I don't think that he's getting the content that they don't respect Summer Games Fest the way that they respected E3. Yeah. And I think that is the reason why his Summer Games Fest fluctuates for him, because he's getting more for Gamescom, he's getting more from the Game Awards, but they're not giving him that either because they wanted to see the landscape of is E3 coming back, or what state E3 was coming back in, or we don't even know if how long of Summer Games Fest is going to be withstanding. So maybe they're trying to see how big this thing gets or how popular it gets, but it just seems to me that they don't, when it comes to Summer Games Fest, they don't trust him like they trust him with the other two ones.
Yeah, I think Gamescom and E3 are especially since he took over Gamescom, it's so weird because you have two shows 2 months apart, June 8th is Summer Game Fest, and then the end of August, so it's 2 months and like a week, and then you do it basically again, and then so you would actually think Gamescom would be the one that's like light, and it tends to be this is light, and then
Yep.
Gamescom it's like, oh, he's got all this stuff, and then Game Awards obviously he goes all out. It's odd. It's odd how it works, but I've enjoyed Summer Game. Good. We're not saying you can't enjoy these things. I hope they're all awesome.
I
everybody
enjoy them
says-
all, to be honest. I just think some is better than others.
Yeah, I agree. Ubisoft is scrambling for a big win, so I think it's guaranteed to be a title reveal. Crazy how like 2 streams ago the idea was a Star Wars game getting revealed was impossible. Yeah, now it's a for sure. Now they're for sure doing. I think I don't know if Ubisoft goes and they just do. Is Ubisoft Rainbow Six? Yeah, right. I'm pretty sure they
Yep.
like Siege and all that. It'll be some sort of Rainbow Six thing. X Defiant, right? That's their Apex Legends like game.
Yes. Yes.
X Defiant. So they'll show that. They'll show Avatar. They'll show Assassin's Creed, and then they'll show a Just Dance 11, and then they'll show like 1 or 2 other. And those 1 or 2 other things will be the make or break things. Star Wars game, yes. And now Ubisoft and Capcom are on the same day. I'm gonna co-stream Ubisoft. I'm not gonna co-stream Capcom just because it's 4:00 my time, so that's a little bit later. I'm actually probably I'll watch it, and then if there's something big, I'll make a video. But I probably won't co-stream that. Yeah, okay. I have good memory. Hoping to see Iron Man and Black Panther game and a release date for Spider-Man 2. Ooh, okay. Let's go through each of those. Iron Man seems way too early.
Yeah.
But the Black Panther game, and you had mentioned this like last week or 2 weeks ago, that one could happen, I think. And the release date. I don't think they get Spider-Man 2.
No.
I think they could get like a Twisted Metal or
for sure.
Yeah.
Sony's giving them something, but I don't know how. If Spider-Man 2 is there, it's not going to be anything of significance.
Yeah. I mean, he did. I will say this. I believe he gave the release date for Horizon a year or 2 ago, and it was after Sony had done so. So it would be similar, but Spider-Man is a lot bigger to them than Horizon is. So I think just because they gave him Horizon doesn't mean they're going to give him Spider-Man. But do you think?
I hope they do, but
yeah,
it's unlikely.
What do you think about the Black Panther Cap game? When do you think we see?
I believe this. I honestly think Summer Games Fest. I do think that it doesn't make sense to be anywhere else. If they're going to show it, this was the place to show it.
I'm gonna write
except unless you're going to wait for Gamescom.
Yeah.
But Summer Games Fest is the place to show it. They were more far along than we thought they were when they showed it. So
I think so.
I think we see it.
I think
they get Wonder Woman too.
Oh yeah, well that's why I did this.
I just noticed.
This was a pipe dream. It was almost subconscious. No, I think Wonder Woman is I think a far out one that like if it was there it would be massive. I think in one of these shows we get Dragon Age, one of the 3 of this year, just because it probably comes out very late next year. So maybe the Game Awards makes it. But when we see it, I think it would be like legit. Like we've seen so much concept stuff. We got like a 1.5-minute teaser trailer that was like a legit trailer, but that was kind of it. So I think we're going to see Dragon Age eventually. So hopefully. My big game for Summer Game Fest is Armored Core. Yep. I'll get to the Elden Ring DLC. I think he could have like a From Software little corner in this Summer Game Fest and do something Armored Core. I do think he does Elden Ring's DLC. I think that's there. I think to him, and it was like one of the biggest games of last year. So I do understand it. I was a big fan. I just don't care too much about like its future, I guess. I think to Jeff Keighley, Elden Ring's DLC is probably like the biggest thing you can get. And so he probably has it, Oh yeah. I think we both want to see, and that Iron Man game, I think when it's ready, I think it's going to be honestly pretty special. But they just started it like 6 months ago. So This game is like 4 or 5 years. It's you're not going to see anything for a long time. I hope for Quidditch and Shadow of the Erd Tree. Yep. Yeah, I think we get the second one. And then Quidditch, I think is very likely. If Quidditch is in there, I question what they're doing, to be honest. Because I think the game is extremely close. Like I think, and we have done predictions and stuff. I think Quidditch like comes out in some form this year. So to not reveal it, I think they'll reveal it. Capcom. Oh yeah, and there's other shows. Devolver Digital. There's the Future Game Show, which Laura
Yep.
Bailey and Yuri Lowenthal is doing. Here's the thing with that. They always get top tier people to do that Future Game Show. There's never anything.
Never anything.
There's maybe one to two. Like, I think they showed Mafia, the remake. They showed gameplay one year, and I remember I had to do like a video on it. But for honestly, yeah, there's maybe one or two, and it's like it's a long show, and there's normally like one or two kind of like mid-tier things. So, I'll be paying attention to it, but I'm not gonna watch them, I guess. Amy Hennig said they would go dark on the Black Panther game for a while and then come back with gameplay. They revealed it at D23 2022, so we either see it at Summer Game Fest or D23 this year. Skydance isn't confirmed. Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, you got to look at that partner. It limits them a little bit. Yeah, I think D23 was not good either, except for her game. So yeah, we could see. I think that's what she meant. I think she meant go dark for like a year and then show it. I mean, they've been working on it for a while. So
when is D23 this year?
I think I'll check. I think it's September. D23. I could be wrong.
It's been a while.
Or September 9th and 10th.
Okay.
Yeah, so that should be fun. They should do better this year than they did. I don't know. Do they only have that game? They have her Star Wars game. Maybe they could reveal her Star Wars game. How you doing? Good, buddy. How about you? You think we see Ubisoft Star Wars game there?
They said it's going to be there.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you talking about Summer Games Fest or Ubisoft show?
Ubisoft.
Oh, yeah, they said it's going to be there.
Yeah, I think it's a lock.
It's a lot.
Yeah. The next play, yeah. There's a couple. I mean, they've done 3 play tests now. Without getting too deep, they've done 3 play tests. So I just think when you're play testing that much, and even before these play tests were, when they announced the game, I had said, because they said they were working on the game for like 3 years. It doesn't take 4 or 5, unless you're The Last of Us. It doesn't take that long to make a multiplayer game, and truly, unless you're them. So I think we're getting it this year. Skydance new media was formed in 2018. So yeah. Yep. I think they've been working on it at least 3 or 4 years. I think next year could be it. The Star Wars game is probably a year or 2 behind it. Like it's exciting that in the next little while we could be getting some Amy Hennig games. All right, Sway, I wrote down a few. Oh no, my light. I wrote down a few games I wanted to kind of pitch you to see if you think that it's going to be there or not. There's not too many of them. And I actually tweeted it. What do you think about Transformers?
Yes. Especially with the movie literally imminently releasing.
Yeah, this week, right?
This week.
Yeah.
I think that is a lock. Well, not a lock, but like I think it's a high chance. It's a high chance.
Yeah. Then I did Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yes.
I think it needs to be honest. I think both of them need to. Lies of P. Because that comes out in August and we don't know the date. I think Jeff is the one who showed it in Gamescom of last year. So you can't show at Gamescom this year. It should already be out by then. So I think
exactly.
The only thing I could think is if it's not at Summer Game Fest, then it's at the Xbox event. Yeah.
Or true that.
Yeah. What'd you say? It will get delayed?
If it's not out by August, it'll get pushed back. I mean, if they don't, I think it'll be pushed back.
I think if they don't give a date this month, then it's I think it's not coming in August anymore. But the director has always sounded extremely confident that it was coming out in the summer. First, he said summer for like a year, and he's right. And then it was August, and I could see it at the Xbox show just because it's a Game Pass game. Maybe even like a Texas Chainsaw could be at like an Xbox show.
I could see it at both. My experience with Keeley is normally if he has like history with getting like the drop on a game, they kind of like most developers choose to just let him continue with it since he
Yep.
has had history with like releasing information with it before. So
Yep.
I think that it honestly shows at both. Like I think
Yep.
that there are certain things that's going to be at Sony that was at Sony's presentation that's going to be at Summer Games Fest. So
Ooh. Do you think Assassin's Creed does a triple dip and does Sony, Jeff, and then Ubisoft? I think it's possible,
yeah,
but I actually would prefer not. To be honest, just
I
like
I would prefer not, but I mean they could honestly run all four. They can go Microsoft too. I mean, they, I don't know what they, like what they'd make too different, but I could see Ubisoft is in a place where I could see them doing that. Let's
yeah,
say
just
that
going out to, hey, do you want to show our game?
they
Hey, you
want
want
to
to show?
market as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's coming, and even now, do you think? What do you think about Mortal Kombat? So that gets shown at Summer Game Fest. What they said gameplay, Ed Boon's teasing character returns from the original, like all this
Mhm.
stuff. I guess what are you hoping to see from Mortal Kombat? Let's just start there. What are you hoping to see from the game?
When he says character returns, my only speculation is I forgot what the system is called where they're gonna have like the kind of like the partner system.
Cameos.
The cameos, yeah. So my inkling is that a lot of the characters that like are going to be returning, like there's going to be playable ones, but also like, are you counting the cameo characters as like return characters as well?
Probably.
That is where I'm coming from with it, and so I'm like, I see returning characters. I'm like, I would love to see these things. But how many of them are cameos and how many of them are actually fighters that you can fight with in the game? So I have a lot more questions than like predictions when it comes to MK because I honestly don't like other than gameplay. Um, Normally with their reveals when they showcase MK, especially the last two, their reveal trailers obviously the thing that sticks out to most people was there was rap in there. But the most important thing is that it always showcased the gameplay. It was cinematic, but everything that you've seen in that cinematic trailer, those cinematic trailers, were things you can do in the game. And Mortal Kombat X, when they started running, that was like the implementation of running in Mortal Kombat, and you can kind of run and blitz towards your opponent, breaking off the branch on the tree and hit like environmental everything that you've seen, even the fatalities for the most part, all of it was in game. This was the first time where it was like, other than the fatality that Liu Kang probably did at the end, this is the first time that I didn't really see any gameplay implemented into like the cinematic trailer. So now I'm like kind of looking at the side eyes, like why this approach here? But they
Yeah.
also did say that they were going for a more story focused approach this game. So I have a lot of questions, but especially after Street Fighter raising the bar the way that it has, I am looking forward to seeing how like they're gonna rebound. Because that's a tall task right now.
Yeah. Yeah. The chance is 0%, but a small deal. Yeah, I don't think it's 0. I think it's probably
No,
like 10. I don't think it's high. But I definitely don't think it's 0. Yeah, it's possible. Jeff shows off trailer for Avatar. Yeah, I think that's something that could happen. Yeah, that's a good one. Something Avatar and then pushing it to now. And like again, for everything good he does, like so Fortnite's gonna be there. He confirmed that. Annoying. He also then the Witcher trailer for season 3. It's like, oh my god, why even like invite that kind of negativity because people aren't gonna be into it. But whatever. Oh yeah, the Apple stuff. What in God's name do you think about that headset?
3,500, I think it was.
That's the price. US. I mean, in different places, it's 4,000, it's 5,000 for them, like different currencies.
Listen, I so here's where I'm at with it, right? Like I love my PC, right? My PC is my baby. I spent about maybe I built it from scratch. I spent about maybe 4,000, roughly a little bit over 4,000. I'm a technology guy, so like I'm no stranger to like things being pricier, especially when specs are matching up. But this is wild. This is wild even for me. Because like right now, like the way my mind works is like PCs, especially depending on what you have in them, in your rig, the price point because of what each thing does is easier to break it down to me in my mind. I, as of right now, can't justify the price point for that
Yeah.
headset yet. Not saying down the line that I will be able to say like I see where you're coming from, but it's kind of like the VR2, right? How did that work out for Sony? Now, granted, they made their VR headset price point higher than the console itself. But when it comes to this is a little bit different. They're the technology inside is, you know, a little revolutionary. That's the goal here.
Yeah.
I just have to see more. I mean, I don't want to outright clown it, which has been definitely getting clowned online, but I'm open minded. I'm willing to be won over, but as of right now, I ain't feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've said it before, like VR is it so for me, like I'm okay with like I guess losing myself to a game in VR
hmm
being transported, but it's also very dangerous. Like I think not to bore people, but like the idea of like creating like a fictional world and like escaping to that world when you're in like the meta stuff, that stuff I think is bad, like
hmm
society wise bad. I guess you could argue that gaming is kind of close to that because you're putting it on, you're being transported to a different place. But I want to come back. I think you should have to come back to the current thing and not have it doesn't matter. Do things where you like have currency and you can like buy a house in the metaverse. Like that stuff is scary. Especially the new age people growing up with it. So that's one part of it that I've just never been a fan of. And then yeah, 3,500 is just gonna be a no. Like it's just not gonna happen. I think and people have said it could be for like developers to buy it, make an app for it, and so like 2, 3, 4 years down the line, when they make one for $1,000, they have all these apps because people had made them 3 years ago for the one that was super expensive. If that's the case, then yeah, you can get, but you don't know where things are going to be 3 years down the line. Yeah, it could be $1,000, but are we struggling economically even worse than we are now? Because who's going to buy it? Who would even buy that, right? You'd have to
Yeah.
get the thing down less than 1,000 right now to even have a shot. And you're looking to the future. You don't know. You don't know how much money people are going to have. So I don't know. I think it deserves to get. I think it deserves to
Yeah.
get clowned on. But it's also not for me, I suppose. Love
Yeah.
how
And
X.
I
Oh, go ahead, go
okay.
ahead, go ahead.
Oh no,
No,
I
you
was
go.
gonna say like my fear, like you said, you had a fear of what it's gonna do to society. It's the first thing I thought of when I seen it was the South Park episode where they couldn't realize who was the originator of wearing a helmet, and like that's what you don't want, right?
Yeah.
Because you gotta live life, and you really don't want something like that happening.
I mean, it is the future where you're carrying around these almost just but people have posted like, didn't they try it back in like 2013? They had glasses and they called them, I think,
hmm
goggles, and they were just glasses that kind of did some of that stuff, and people didn't really take to that. But I do think, those futuristic just movies that show people, or like a Tony Stark, they just, have a
Yep.
glasses and tap a button and you do all this stuff. I mean, yeah, it's cool, but you're like you're melding like real life with not and into this really weird thing. And I think to just a lot of younger people, you're going to get completely like lost in that, and that's going to be more important than like real life. And people already don't really want to work nowadays, so then well, I can just escape over there. It's going to be really bad. So the longer we can kind of push that is probably best for our society. um Love that Xbox threw shade at Sony for the movie trailer. Yeah, they were. And then somebody said,
On fire.
yeah, they've been savage. So yeah, I mean, so they did the movie trailer. They also said we're not just going to do all CG, which was also a Sony shot because multiple of these Sony, whether it was the third party stuff or not, CG. So, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I like them being kind of cocky / like punching up, I suppose. The thing is this comment right here. They need to deliver. It needs to,
And
you know what I mean? Like if it's
the
a
trash
great
talk
show,
makes me think they are.
yeah, I think they're very confident. And I would go so far to say, and we don't know this for sure because the show hasn't happened yet, but I could imagine, because they watch each other and all this stuff, right? I imagine they watched Sony's show and said, "Thank God, like we easily got this now." Like I think they do that to each other just naturally. We know Sony did that back in the day with the here's how to share a game, and they filmed that. Remember that? And here's how you
Yep.
share a game. You just give the game. They did that literally right after Xbox's event. They went into the back, recorded they had like one take, and that was it. So we know they do it. So yeah, I would honestly imagine Microsoft, Phil Spencer saw that show and said, "Oh my God, we're gonna smoke them," which it's not hard to beat that Sony show. So they should
Not at
do it.
all. I thought even if Sony had a fantastic show, it was going to be hard for them to beat Microsoft this year. So
Yeah,
the amount of trash talking that they have done, and it started the day of their showcase.
Yeah.
So it's been
nonstop.
ever
And even when they announced all those games, then they said, "Look at all these games coming to Xbox: Alan Wake, Assassin's Creed." It's like, oh my God! But I mean, it's true. I mean, that it's not. It is savage, but it's not crazy because that's what we were saying live.
Yep.
That's what we were saying on Twitter. Like some of your biggest showings were not exclusive to you. They're coming out on X. And that's okay. Like I don't care about exclusivity, but when it's your show, you would expect it to be, things on your console, and only on your console, or at least
which they held back from, and now they want to do another showcase allegedly.
Yeah, I believe it. I do believe that rumor. Especially like, we talked right before the PlayStation showcase, and I had said, like, I think there's no shot they do another one because I think this one was going to be so packed. Well, I didn't know that this showcase would be not good. And then, yeah, it could be like how they did it 2 years ago. Or 2020. Yeah, it was 2020. They did June and September. And then they took a year off, September 2021. Then they took 2 years off. So I would not be shocked if September or October they did. But you have Spider-Man, so maybe you wait right after Spider. So maybe like October, and you do it. They should bring back PlayStation Experience. That should. I love that. And I never got to go. I want to go. That would be fun. Yeah.
I do you think Sony gave Jeff Keighley Wolverine?
Give him what?
Do you think he gave him Wolverine?
Ooh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. I think Twisted Metal would be like, if you're thinking, okay, what's a mid-tier? He can reveal it. Like this would be a big thing. I think Twisted Metal would be, because I keep going back to it. We know the game is real. We know the show is in a month and a half. The show is July 27th or something. Like, how can you not, like, Transformers too? Like, this is such an easy layup. How can you not if you let Twisted Metal
capitalize on marketing?
Yeah. Even if Twisted Metal is not ready, I don't care. Like, not ready to release. That's fine. But like, show it, talk about it, because like this is you're gonna let the show go and not mention the game like at all. That's bad. That would be really. I guess they did that with they actually didn't do it with The Last of Us because they had talked about the PC port throughout the whole, length of when the show. So they did try to do it. Uncharted with the movie, they didn't have the game, but I think the collection on PC was like right before it, so there was some sort of synergy there. So yeah,
it's a missed opportunity.
It is. You missed some important context for KOTOR. The CEO was actually laughing when he said, "That's my favorite question," and said they have a big game for 2024. I expect. No, I saw that. It's possible. I mean, I did see that they said, there is a big releasing like mid 2024, and people think that it's KOTOR. I hope it is, but watching that video of where the game is and all the jumping around, I'll be patient. If the game doesn't come out for several years, I would like understand it. So Did I tell you I accomplished my mission? I got blocked again by Jason Schreier. He found
Oh
my.
my god.
I never this time. Okay, this time I made sure I only said his name here on YouTube. I never mentioned his name on Twitter. So I don't know how he does it, but the little the little weasel, I don't know how he monitors things, but he blocked Podcast Now 23. So there you go. He's a loser anyway, so I don't care.
He's an avid watcher.
Yeah. If you're watching Schreier, just know that I think you're despicable. I'm very much not a VR gamer, sadly. So when VR starts to come into play, I'll probably retire from gaming, stick with my Xbox, and PS5, or 7, or whatever. Yep. Yeah. Do you think this is hard? But do you think, like, think 5-10 years in the future? Do you think like VR takes over? Or do you think there'll always be a spot for console games? Or
my take is based off of they have been trying to make VR work for pretty much a decade now, right?
Yeah.
Like aggressively trying to make it work for a decade now. And it's something that people think is like a cool thing to do, but nobody has ever really embraced it or like, oh my God, this is the next wave of gaming. Like we talk about that it's going to be, but when you look at when it's time to buy, when it's time to sell, when it's time for people to play games, it's never supported. So I honestly look at VR, like what will actually happen with VR is that it will always be looked at as an accessory and never the main form, because of how it's traditionally just the response to it has been. I don't think that people, which is wild, like weird to think about, because ever since probably we were all like kids, VR was something that was always like talked about, the idea of it. So I think that we thought that would be like the natural progression of things, but I think that people will just always feel comfortable or better playing on the TV screen or monitor, and just would prefer to have VR to go to every now and again as an accessory. I don't think it'll ever take over.
I agree. A while ago, Everwild had reported 2024 release, and recent reports say it's Viva Pinata-esque. I saw that. I am, in my opinion, it's a lock for the showcase. I'll never stop holding my breath for Rare to revive Banjo and Kazooie.
We're gonna will that into existence together.
If he gets Banjo before I get Sly, I'm gonna be pretty upset though. So I think I need to have.
That is a good point.
I need to have even though I think he deserves Banjo maybe first, but
a lot of
Everwild
circles.
What? Yeah,
I said a lot of manifesting circles.
Yeah, a lot. Wonder Woman. I mean, you could probably make like a top 20 list for games that you would need to like sacrifice like your child or something for. You could probably do that. But no, I'm really like Everwild. I don't think it's gonna be like the trailers we've seen now that it's been like rebooted and stuff. But I always liked how Everwild. I love the art style. So hopefully they keep the art style. My fear with Xbox being confident with their show is PlayStation setting them up. So after the Xbox showcase, Sony comes out and says, "Hey, we have more to show," and then boom. I don't know if it's like, that'd be like 4D chess, right? And it's possible, but I think Sony. So here's what's been said about Sony, right? We've been told by Sony that they want to do more like live service stuff. And to me, live service games aren't good, like largely. There's like a few out of 100. So they told us that. They show presentations to investors and finance people on it. And then they did it. In the showcase, they did it. They showed a bunch of live service games. I think that's just their plan. I think they are in this era of making a lot of mistakes. It's probably Jim Ryan. It's probably a couple investors. I am definitely like, and this is the good thing about not being a console warrior, is you can jump around. I'm very worried about Sony. In the next like 5 years, I think they're going downhill. I think it's pretty apparent.
That 4D chess game, either way you slice it, has been played by Microsoft. I've been saying it for a long time. Like, don't get me wrong, like games are the main focal point, but like Microsoft looked at the market and said, not only Sony's consoles, but our consoles are practically PCs now.
Yeah.
They were like, we're going to get ahead of this now. And they're so far ahead of it that Sony can't catch up to that market. They have already lost and they will continue to lose when it comes to like that side of the portion. So all they have right now is the games. And so then if you say like apply that like the strategy behind like, okay, we did a week showcase and then we're going to let Microsoft go and put all of their eggs in one basket and then we're going to go next. Well, then now you just played, you thought you were playing 4D chess, but then like now you got the Activision and Blizzard deal and you show too much there, you're only going to strengthen their argument and they have momentum going into that deal again now. So it's just like, it's either way, it's hard to be in, I'm not going to say it's hard to be in Sony's shoes right now, but there's no move where I can see them going, okay, like we really got them here. Like, because my reasoning for why they didn't show as much or held back was because of the deal. That's what I always thought. So if they wanted to come back and show more, that's risky to me.
I think it's why they haven't shown third-party deals, but I think their own stuff they've been working on is because it's not ready. Like you said it, and you're right. Like Sony's thing is games. Like they've always been, when they were losing in the PS3 era. Well, okay, the PS2 era is like arguably the best era in games, period, right?
I would say that.
That was largely Sony, like just kind of dominating everything. And Microsoft, Phil Spencer has said that, right? Like that's where Sony built up everything. You could argue, I would say the PS3 generation too is where Sony really got a lot of properties, like they created their own. So you had those two, but even like the PS3 era, they were losing for the longest time. Now they actually outsold Xbox at the end of it, but for the longest time they were in the trailing their console. Remember the show where they announced the PS3 and the price was like $600 and it was people were like disgusted with that. They were playing from behind, and what did they do? They got creative, which is Sony does its best when it's losing. So I almost want them truly, like I almost want them to be behind. Is that makes them really say, okay, we need to pick. That's the thing in life too, right? With like like financially, when people are struggling, you only focus on the necessities. You're trying to survive, right? Same thing with a company. When you're losing and when you don't have as much money, and that's what Sony has always been. They're not Microsoft. They don't have endless amounts of money. They need to pick very carefully who they buy, what deals they make, what games they make themselves, and that's how they're good, because they're just good judging. They're good judgers. That's not the right word, but they can judge games, characters like well. And they've not been doing it. I think it's because they think they're so far in the lead that they don't have to. They can explore live service, but yeah, Microsoft has the edge on like cloud gaming. Sony really is just games. And if you go down this live service thing, and that's really your plan. And again, like they told us, if you remember the last Sony investor thing, I don't know if you saw this way, remember there was like a bar graph that showed how much money they're putting into, and in 2 years, 2025, it's like 60% live service games, 40% like the games we are used to. So there's like they're not only making it 50-50, they're actually going more in on the other stuff versus the stuff that they're known and good at. So in the next 2 years, and they could easily fail at this. Like this could blow up big, and then you'll see 26, 27, 28, then hopefully it like all falls apart in the next like 2 years, and then they rebound for the start of PS6. Like they come in hungry and they come in, okay, we really need to, because it could happen. Like going into the PS6 being known as like a live service thing, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't think it honestly will.
This generation, I noticed people kind of praise.
What do you think? Rank? Do you think this is the weakest generation in like the last 7? I think it's probably the weakest, like, period.
Yeah, I know. I would absolutely say that. Like, like I know a lot of people, it's easy to look at like the games that we have gotten, and like there's been some really, really, really good games. But like as far as like console generations go, like there's no way you take the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and stack them against the game releases that came out on the PlayStation 3, 360, the PlayStation 2, the original Xbox, the PlayStation 1, the first one. Like you even Nintendo consoles, you can't really stack it against and say like you had a better slew of releases than even anything that they've done with these. And that's kind of why like I think I look at this as I go like the fan base is one thing I do notice is that they say like Microsoft is more consumer friendly. And we've seen what happens multiple times now when Sony gets the lead and they're kind of feeling themselves. They kind of almost do away with they don't listen to the fans. They kind of want to do is, going to bring in more money, which business wise, that's what you absolutely should do. But they're learning that a lot of their business in the business that they're in is literally determined by things that are not a necessity. Anything in gaming is not a necessity, it's a want. So when people don't want to do something, they're not going to pay to do it. And that's what they got to grasp. I think Microsoft grasped that a long time ago, and they went with, okay, what do we need to do to ensure that we get money? We're going to come up. They did this a long time ago, but operating system. When you get a computer, if you buy a pre-built, it's most likely coming with Microsoft Word. So they're getting the things that you probably need in order to run things. Sony is going after the things that people are going to want, and they're not doing that anymore.
Yeah. I think Xbox I think has been consumer friendly for a while. They just have had, I think, management, like judging games has been a huge legitimate issue.
Huge
Get
issue.
wrecked, Jason Schreier. Yeah. The future will be cloud only, not for like 20 years though. There's experimental internet tech that's insanely fast. So once that's mainstream, cloud will take over. I think that's definitely what Microsoft. Well, Sony makes it sound like that's like there'll always be a barrier. I think like, well, internet is always in a way unstable. Like I don't think you can ever have, you know what I mean? Like, can you ever have fully 100% stable, perfect internet worldwide? Probably not. There's always going to be some issue, but if you can get it close enough, then that would be, the future. I don't know if it's a better future because then your reliance on technology and satellites and all this stuff, and if one goes down, the whole thing's kind of screwed. So there's definitely issues there, but I do agree. A while ago, when Apple sued Epic, Epic was forced to reveal that they're making Rocket League 2. What? How did
I forgot about that.
I didn't even see that.
Oh man.
I didn't even know.
Was a thing. That was a thing.
Why did nobody tell me? I've talked about how many hours I've put in Rocket League, and
it's been so long. Like I honestly I still enjoy Rocket League today, so I thought that there was just
good I made a video like 3 years ago on if there'll ever be a Rocket League 2. Video did terrible, and I feel like it's just because, no. The answer is no. Just like, will there ever be a Dead by Daylight 2? I think there actually were files that indicate there could be a Dead by Daylight 2 eventually, but that'd be freaking sweet. I'd take that. Sony PlayStation isn't dumb. They know where the money is made. I honestly can see Sony backtracking if they see a big decline and sticking with what they do best. Yeah, I think so. But they need to fail in order to, So you need like Twisted Metal to not work. You need what are the Haven game, that Payday looking thing? In fact, isn't it called Payday with like a money sign or something? Like whatever it's called, that game would need to fail. The Fire Sprite is that the Twisted Metal game? They have all those third party studios that they kind of fund, but they don't own them. All those studios, if their games fail, then yeah, I could see Sony looking at that and saying, well, we messed up on that one. I could see them. I'm not saying they're going to like bankrupt themselves and like go out of business, but I think they're going to make some mistakes to say, okay, we need to turn, and then that turning things around, that will take a couple of years. You don't just turn things around in a business like that,
No.
I don't know if you care about this, but wondering what your guys' opinions on Bobby Kotick. I don't personally like the guy. Like, I don't care. I don't really care what happens to him. There's like the workforce toxicity thing, and that's controversial, I guess. I think some of it is made up. I think some of it's legit. That it does fall into like how leadership like does things. He's probably a very smart businessman, though. Like very smart, so.
I I always try to look at separating business from personal. But his situation specifically trickled down to his employees. And for that reason alone, I'm looking at that. And that's one of the reasons why I go like, you can't, as a gaming fan, this is where Console Warriors kind of gets a little bit skewed here. You can't try to plead your case with PlayStation about why they shouldn't be able to buy it, but then on the other hand are privy to the information that Bobby Kotick will stay in power until the transition is done, and then he'll be relieved of duty. Yeah. So if you want to better the culture, regardless of if you like it or not, the Microsoft acquisition is the best bet, because you know what's going to happen if that deal doesn't go through. He's probably going to stay in power. Enough time has went by for the majority of his blowover to blow over. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. People are still pissed and want him out of there. But the spotlight is not nearly as hot as it was when everything was first coming out. So it's like Vince McMahon for wrestling. He stepped down and then he came back because it's no longer and so it's the same thing. If you really care about those employees at Activision and Blizzard, if you really care about everything that's going on, that Microsoft deal is something that you should be wanting, and not something like, oh, we don't want them to have it because they're the other side. It's bigger than that. If you care about people, you're gonna that shouldn't matter. Yeah, that's my stance on it. Is that is a big reason for me to want that deal to go through, because it would change the landscape of how that business works and how their employees are respected. So I don't want him there, but the best way to get that to happen is for that deal to go through.
Yeah, no, I agree. Where they keep their major studios single player only and use the Bungies and Firewalks, etc., as live service. Yeah, I told, and for the most part, it feels like they're doing that. But then again, you got The Last of Us multiplayer, so you do have Naughty Dog doing it, a live service game. I'm trying to think. Days Gone, or the Ben Studio or Sony Ben, I think it was rumored that their game will have like a multiplayer element. So, they've had like Uncharted has had multiplayer and Last of Us has had multiplayer. But yeah, if they want to keep them separate, have your studios just do single player or multiplayer editions. But again, though, I think the Last of Us thing proves that that's not. They're willing to make their own studios do it too, which is what's kind of scary. Do you expect ads at it? Yeah, sadly. Well, like the game. Yeah, I think he relatively does the same. Like he'll do When We Come Back or later on in the show, and then he'll be like a 2-minute ad break, and he gets paid tens of thousands of dollars for those. So so they kind of need to be in the show, even though they're terrible. They're absolutely awful.
They give me time to look at my phone, though, to tweet to all of you my excitement.
They're like mini. The issue is they happen pretty often. Like I think the Game Awards was way too much. But they give you like time to like recap what you just saw. So you'd be like, okay, how are we feeling? About if you're like live streaming, how you feeling about the last half hour? And then, but he does it every like half hour or so, which, I don't know. I mean, he's talked about it. He's talked about, with the growing show and expenses, and, the bigger it gets, the more ad people want to be in it. Like they come to him to say, we want to advertise. So I get it, but you do have to be careful, because like, this is for gamers. Gamers are notoriously like not patient, in this case, it's good. So we'll see. But no, there will be it. There will be ads. As a longtime Rocket veteran, I always get a kick out of research. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I appreciate you telling me, because I Sway knew it and he just tucked it away in the corners of his brain. I didn't even know. I had no idea. So that's real. Like in the court documents.
I remember hearing something about that. We talked. I had a few friends. We were talking about like, oh, we're getting a Rocket League 2. That's crazy. And that was one of the things that came out. Now, whether if it's still happening, I don't know, because Rocket League is still going strong, and I don't fault any company for not. I mean, look at Grand Theft Auto. it never lost momentum.
Yeah.
Even though like to maybe individually a lot of people like they pick it down, they put it down and then come back, pick it up later. It never lost momentum. So there was no reason for them to ever make another one right
Right.
off the right out the gate. And that's kind of like what Rocket League is. It's like
Yeah.
regardless of if people are talking about it, it still has enough numbers on there to
Yeah, you don't want a
sustain themselves.
splinter. Yeah, when you got like 20, 30, 40,000 people, you don't want to necessarily say, okay, we're going to make a new game. And I think the worst thing you would want is for the new game to not get everybody. You actually would want
Mm-hmm.
Rocket League to die and everybody moves to 2. That's what you would, I think, want. And what more realistically would happen is you would keep maybe like a quarter on the first game and the rest move over. And then that kind of hurts, the second game doesn't reach its full. Then you're splintering. Some people say, well, I still like, the
The
first
first
one.
one.
Even like a Star Wars Battlefront almost, doesn't really have a problem with it, but there's some people that like only play the first game's multiplayer. I'm sure EA would prefer everybody just move because they'll just shut the server. They don't care, They did it for Bad Company. They'll just shut the servers down. So that's what I think. Yes, yeah. The showcases are actually a big ad. I believe, at least for Summer Game, one of these shows, you have to pay him to show it. Like anything that's at one of these shows. And I don't know, I think it's Summer Game Fest because I remember going on like a website. You can fill out a form. You can see like the price breakdown. It costs, I think, somewhere in like the $25,000 to $30,000 range to show a game at Jeff Keighley. And you have to, but sometimes he goes to them. So does he go to
Mm-hmm.
them and say, there's no way he goes to them and says, you need to give us money. Maybe he
No way.
has a couple freebies where he said, we'll just do it. I think it's Summer Game Fest. I don't know if he charges for like the Game Awards and stuff, but I do know, I think Summer Game Fest he does. Oh yeah. Microsoft will get the deal.
Yeah.
It was looking a little sketchy for a while,
First, yeah.
but it feels very likely at this point. After what happened with Naughty Dog, I see Bungie taking over. Whatever Naughty Dog had planned is not what we are going to get anymore, if at all. Yeah. I'm not. I know. I think we went back and forth, Nerdy Giant, of what do you think, Sway? Let's throw you into it. So I think the argument is Bungie does know what they're doing. A live service. They've proven to have been able to do it. I'm not a fan of allowing Bungie to like look over your portfolio and be like the judge, like be everything over it. Just because they're Bungie, I think there should be like somebody in Sony that does that. Where do you kind of stand on like allowing Bungie that creativeness based off their experience?
I don't think that that's right. And these are the guys that gave me Halo. I mean, I'm wearing Halo headsets now. I just don't, regardless of who they are, coming in and like imagine somebody basically coming into your job and telling you no longer have creative freedom. We're going to choose what you do because we've done this in this business. We did this and this and this, and you've only done this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like and Naughty Dog is nobody to snuff at, right? Like and so to them, it would almost be disrespectful to have another studio come in and tell them what they're doing, because that, once again, The Last of Us, Uncharted, you can't really disrespect that studio.
Crash,
like that.
Jack and Daxter. Like you can keep
going.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you can't really disrespect any studio that has given you legendary games like that. And I just think that what needs to happen is it needs to be more of a collaboration. Like, how would you feel about this or that? Because I hate to keep bringing them up, but Phil Spencer and Xbox, they did touch on like we may have some failures and we may have some successes, but we don't want to take creative control away from our studios. And when you ask Bungie to do something like that, you're taking creativity away from somebody, in this case, Naughty Dog. So I'm with you, Alex. I don't know how I would necessarily feel about something like that happening.
Yeah. I get it. Bungie is skilled, and when you're going for a live service game, you bring in the expert. But yeah, I kind of would look at it like I really want to know like the workers in Naughty Dog that were working on it. Like, yeah, how do they feel having a studio? Because again, like I get they're legendary, but they're legendary for a specific reason, and they're not really used to, live service, and you have somebody coming in and kind of correcting them and stuff. But like, I wonder, like, is there egos? Like, how do they feel about that? Because my own precious ego, high ego, I would definitely not. Even if you're like an expert in that field and you come to me, I probably wouldn't like that very much. So I do wonder how kind of that, you know what I mean? Just because it's like, well, I'm doing my thing, and I'd rather have it come from Sony. That I think that's my biggest thing is like I get Bungie, I get their what they've done, but like you just bought them and you're bringing them in. There should be kind of like a committee in Sony, and there's when you pitch a game, you have to go to like and these people have been there since like the PS3 era. You have to pitch it to like 3 or 4 people. Jim Ryan is one of them now. You have to pitch it to them. So there is a group already. There's a group that like examines your pitch and like it says yes or no to the budget and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Now you add Bungie into it. All right, we'll finish off these last comments and we'll head out of here. This has been fun. A lot of all different things.
Oh man, I love them.
Psyonix reconfirmed it as a remake in Unreal Engine 5. They'll have a native mobile port and its codename Rocket League Next in 2021. They label it as a long-term project. I must not do any research. I didn't see any of it. You think that I'm on Twitter, I'm on multiple gaming leak like websites. You'd think I would have seen it in the past like 2 years.
I mean, to be fair, it was easy to miss because during that lawsuit, it was so much information coming out.
Yeah.
I don't like I couldn't keep up with it at certain time. So like I didn't Rocket League was like one of those things where it was like, okay, like it was I heard it and I'm like, all right, my interest is intrigued. Like,
and I was gonna do a video on Rocket League on Back to the Past. I'm gonna hold off on that now because I'll do it with the second game. I'm glad they told me. A few weeks ago, China. Yep, a couple more dominoes fallen. Just a few left for Activision Blizzard. In an interview Jeff had with Video Game Chronicle, he basically said the studios come to him. He doesn't often go to them. Gotcha. I don't think it's necessarily creative freedom per se. Remember, love or hate them, Bungie has one of, if not the most active running live service titles ever, so they know what they are doing. Yeah, and I mean, and to be fair, that Marathon game had the most, like, doubled Spider-Man's views in the first day. Like, so even like I could care less about Marathon, but like legitimately, almost 20 million people, I think, watched that trailer in one day, which was double Spider-Man. So it is hard to, and that trailer was nothing, right? Like, why would you even, I don't even know why you would watch that trailer.
I don't think that we're saying like that they shouldn't. No, we're saying that they shouldn't. We're saying it's not that they're not qualified, but it's devaluing the studio, especially when you think about another studio. Like these studios have been here not just for years, but like
20
decades.
years, Naughty Dog.
Like, yeah, and you got this brand new studio. It's not brand new, but it's brand new to the company. And they're coming in and they're telling you what to do as if you've done nothing in this. Like your 20 years should have earned you something. Some sort of say so.
Yeah. And it's also, here's one other, I'd say this is kind of key. So Sony literally said that their plan with these live service games is to make it for like everything, right? So they're not all for the same genre. So Twisted Metal is obviously going to be a little bit different than The Last of Us, which is different than Haven's game and all this stuff, right? So I guess what I'm saying is to have Bungie come in and look at 10 of them that are all very different and also different from Bungie's games. And then to have Bungie to decide on all of them seems weird. You know what I mean? Because you could use the exact same logic. Naughty Dog is good at one thing. Well, Bungie is good at live service, but not really. They're good at one kind of live service. They're not good at we don't know that. They're not good at live service, period. They're good at shooter. That's it. So for them, now that they look at Twisted Metal and say, we know how to make a car, live service game. No, you don't. You've never done that. So how do you know? You know the live service part, but you don't know how to make 10 different games. So I would argue very heavily that would maybe, I don't know why I didn't bring that up before. It takes a while for things to process for me. That would be my biggest thing is just, if it's a shooter, then yes, let Bungie have their say because I think that's probably good. But And well, The Last of Us is kind of a shooter, but I just feel, when you're looking at all these different projects and they're the ones critiquing it, I don't know that they've never done it. So why should they have the keys to all of these different projects?
And when it comes to The Last of Us, the only thing that I would give them, like the feedback on, is factions. That's it. When it comes to the single player, when it comes to the base game, I wouldn't, nothing at all. I wouldn't let them do what they do. I think the industry, which I'm surprised Sony is still making this move, is because Warner Brothers. They legitimately had an article a few years ago where all of their games were going to be live service, and we're slowly seeing them pivot mid-development on games at that. So, I mean, you've seen what happened, and you've seen the turn, and they couldn't fully undo the turns. Yeah. So, I just don't know why you.
That's the thing. When these things start to fall, I do think Sony should pivot, and so it'll happen. But what you'll get is remember when every game was a zombie game, and then people knew that, so they stopped. But there was still that dying off period, and there'd still be zombie games. And what did the fans do? They ignored them. They said we're done. And those companies, they can't stop. Maybe they're too expensive, so just get some money. So what you just said, there could be examples where maybe there's a live service element in a game, and then Sony says, we really need to pull that. But then you have a WB situation where you can only pull it so much because it's kind of core to the game. It takes years. Warner Bros. Shouldn't have this issue in 3, 4, 5 years, but it took an era of 4 or 5 years of just screw ups over and over again to figure it out. So it does take time. Sony will pivot, but there'll still be a pain period of them trying to get out of it. That Xbox, everybody does. It's, we're bagging a lot on Sony. I love Sony, by the way. I'm playing Diablo and Street Fighter on PlayStation, so don't get the wrong idea.
My Street Fighter is coming on PlayStation. My collector's
edition. There you go. Yeah, you spent a ton of money
for 5 days late.
Yeah. When it comes to third parties, I buy games on PlayStation unless it's on Game Pass, and then I'll do Xbox. That's generally how I will do that for the foreseeable future. I'd get a PS6 just because of familiarity, and I like their controllers. I like the look. I've always liked Sony, I guess, over Xbox. But again, then there's that separation. I love games. Hellblade 2, I think, will be one of the better games of any year that it releases. I don't care where it releases, it's going to be on Xbox, and so I will play it. You know what I mean? So that's just an important thing to throw out there.
Most of my life, I've been traditional PlayStation. Traditional PlayStation.
I think it's fair. You grow up. We're still in the era. You grow up. You probably grew up on PS2. And Xbox wasn't really there was no competition with PS2. There just wasn't.
And now I'm a PC predominant player. The majority of my games, third party, does come, I do get on PC, but I say up until 2020, my entire life, I was PlayStation predominant. And now PC, it just makes more sense because Steam Deck, the quality that you get from PC, granted, the games that's been coming out lately for PC, performance-wise, you're killing me. But, we're not PlayStation haters, but you got to be able to criticize your team occasionally.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Epic, what's going on, buddy? So we're trying to wrap up, so I'm going to skip around just a little bit, but appreciate you being here. Suicide, I actually don't. I don't think Suicide Squad is going to be there.
I'm going to go broad here. I'm going to say they are.
They did say they were going to show more information. Did they say soon or later? Later this summer? It could be Gamescom. I think it'll be Gamescom. So I'll throw that out there. But I wouldn't be shocked. But what are you going to show? What are you going to show for Suicide? That's going to change minds. What's going to do it?
Story. If I'm them, you show the strongest aspect of your game. Yeah. If you have a very good showing of the story, I'm not going to say that people are going to forget about the gameplay, but that's enough time has passed and you give a really good showing. A lot of people are going to go okay, I'm kind of intrigued or I'm a little excited now. And it was like Gotham Knights. Regardless of how you felt about the gameplay, I was won over by just what I was seeing from the characters in the trailers. So that was it for me. And I feel like they need to give people that thing to grasp towards to really get them to make their decision.
Yeah. I see them coming in and telling Naughty Dog, hey, this doesn't work. I agree with that. Seeing Naughty's reaction to it didn't seem like they were too upset. In Twitter, they raved about the new single-player game. Also, remember, Naughty Dog wanted to do it their way. It could mean more story-focused, big moment cutscenes, but no, like, longative on the game on a whole, if that makes sense. Yeah, no, that makes, yeah. The way it was reported, I think, makes it scary. But that could be clickbait. We know Jason Schreier loves to do that, exaggerate stories. If you're watching, Jason. So yeah, I mean, if it was a simple thing where it's like, hey, I wouldn't do that. Hey, that looks good. Keep that. If it's a collaboration, it's fine. It was reported more like an authority, like Bungie just has their say and you listen. If it was more of a back and forth, that's okay. Suicide Squad is going to get canceled. Calling it. I'm getting Redfall vibes. Devs just don't want to make or work on it.
I would say there was that one report or that like of people that played the game that they actually it had a fun gameplay loop or something like that. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how true.
Maybe
he's
talking about like the heads of the company though leaving, which that's a
yeah. You know what?
I think they definitely don't want to work on it.
No, they don't want to work on it. But I will say this: those two people, there's no way they don't have staff that has been with them the entirety of the time, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that them two is going leaving as it's a blow. It's a huge blow, but I don't think that all of the talent and quality is going to instantly leave because of those two. They've passed that knowledge down to a lot of their staff, and although the staff might not have the exact mind and thought process about how they put things together to get the products that we've seen, they've got teachings from that. So like, even if it takes Rocksteady down from being let's theoretically say like a A or an A+ studio down to like A- or a B+, you're still looking at a good studio. It's just not as good as what it could have been. That's literally what we're looking at.
I think it comes down to, again, executives told.
Yes.
And that's the like I said this for the Redfall video I made. Like, if you think about Redfall, right? ZeniMax told them make a live service element. That was basically the gist of it, right? Make a live service thing. Because they did that, and because the studio didn't really know what to do, and the leadership at that studio also wasn't very good at communicating it. But that's because they're not used to that stuff. And there was that report that like 70% of the people that made Prey left. So if you think, and I would say the same thing for Rocksteady, it's highly likely that because of these stupid suited executives that are giving directives, they are forcing these studios to radically change, and people are just leaving them. And it's like you're ruining what was the team that made Prey is now 30% of that team. Probably because they don't want to do a live service game, but they were told to. Rocksteady
exactly
is same thing. Like, it's sad.
It doesn't mean the game is bad. It just means that they don't like the direction the company is going in, and that's kind of what I'm. It's a red flag, but a red flag for the future. I don't necessarily think it's a red flag for the game itself.
I think as long as they all just need to make the mistake. So I think Suicide Squad needs to sadly be sacrificed for then their next game to say, all right, do your thing. And hopefully there's enough talented people left that they'll say, okay, we're going to go back to what we're good at. So it's really like the next game that they make would be the big tell of, if it's the same kind of thing, if it's still live service, it's over. If it's not, then I think, they'll be okay. But you're talking like 6 years down the line, and I don't know where I'm going to even be 6 years down the line. So it's hard to put ourselves there. All right, guys. No, this was a blast. We talked about a lot of different things. Sway and I always like this kind of stuff, I think, more than anything else. So, Sway, you want to say your farewells?
Thank you all for the engagement. You guys rock today. I've just been looking over here at the corner of like all the comments going down, even the ones that we didn't get around to, reading. Like sometimes if you just randomly see me just go like this, it's because I seen one of you say, hey, and I'm always reading the comments. Love it. Keep doing it every week. Without your support, we wouldn't be here. So thank you so much, and can't wait to see you on the next one.
Indeed. I think we're gonna. Yeah, we have to. We're gonna do the same thing next week. So next Tuesday we'll go live.
Mhm.
We'll probably just talk about the shows that it'll be the day after Capcom and Ubisoft and stuff. So we'll do that, and then we'll do it back on the Thursday, and then we start on the pre-recorded stuff, which I think we got some pretty fun episodes for you guys that we already have clocked in. So we appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you all next Tuesday.